power of the dark side.
I'm not a baby, I'm a man. I am an anchor man.
Is this a kissing book?
The way I see it, if you're gonna build a time machine into a car, why not do it with some style?
Hello and welcome along to episode 4 of series 3 of Just Like in the Movies, brought to you by GK Media Ltd, providing digital content and marketing solutions for SMEs throughout Ireland and the UK. Every week our podcast explores or tries to explore and discuss what is happening in the Irish film industry and beyond. I'm your host, Garry Kelly, joined as always by Dave Coyne.
Good evening.
And Lisa Treacy.
I don't know why he gets first, but anyway. Hi.
Hi, because he was beside me.
It's like Monopoly, we go this way.
On this podcast, we are looking at movies on the basis of Sex and Cold Pursuit with Liam Neeson, which certainly had a lot of controversy before it hit cinemas. We'll also be looking back on the Oscars, which I stayed up watching. Couldn't believe I managed to do so. It was supposed to be over at 4, and I kept going till about 20 to 5.
Yeah, me too.
Oh.
I stayed up as well.
Did you do it?
Yeah.
You didn't get cut off?
No.
Because you cancelled your Sky contract?
No, I cancelled it and then they let it roll on. I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll get away with this. And then the day before the Oscars, they turned it off. So I reactivated it. Then I had to ring them up again and go, turn this off in a month's time, please. And then I had to do the whole, no, we'll give it to you for €2 off. And look, just turn it off in a month's time. I just want to watch the Oscars in about 3 hours, please.
Okay.
And they put it back on for me. So, and then I stayed up and went, what a waste of money. But we'll get to that in a minute.
Okay, excellent stuff. First up, we are talking about Cold Pursuit.
Gonna kill him. No, those guys.
One guy could disappear. 2, who wants me dead?
3 of Viking's drug dealers have disappeared.
What makes you think you can kill a man?
I read it in a crime novel.
There you go. That's a clip from the movie Cold Pursuit. A snowplow driver.
Snowplow
as well. You know, it depends what part of the country you're living.
Yeah.
Anyways, there's snow. There's a driver. He seeks revenge against the drug dealers he thinks killed his son. Now, this is based on the 2014 Norwegian film, In Order of Disappearance. I'm not going to give the Norwegian title, but from the Norwegian director, it's a remake.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't realise that.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Now I know that the Norwegian one's probably better.
Okay. Lisa, let's start with you. What you make of Cold Pursuit?
Well, I actually enjoyed it. It was not that bad. It was not that bad. I was expecting it to be complete schlock, and then I watched it and I was like, okay, it could have been a little bit shorter, but I thought there was something kind of new about it. The way everyone was getting killed, I thought that was fun. You know, you didn't feel sorry for any of these guys because they're just drug dealers, so ergo they don't matter. And then I just thought it was cute when it was like a little thing where every time they got killed, they had the little card that had like their little symbol and they're dead, you know, their name. And for each person's belief system, they had like a different picture or a different symbol or whatever. And I thought that was kind of a nice touch for when you're murdering people, just throw in a little symbol. And I also like the fact that Laura Dern wasn't in it that long because I don't like Laura Dern.
Okay.
I knew that. As soon as I saw Laura Dern, Lisa won't like this, I thought.
But Liam Neeson is not the quintessential Liam Neeson that we're always used to. It's not I have a set of skills, I'm going to get you. It's scaled back from that because he's not actually a CIA agent or anything. He's just a snowplow man, you know, who's just quite strong and has innovative ways of murdering people. I like the way all the stories come together with the drug dealers. There's a turf war and there's different things. And the guy that plays the main bad guy is absolutely gorgeous. He's gorgeous. And you cannot take your eyes off him.
I didn't really notice, but okay.
Oh, he's really handsome. And you're like, oh, do I really want this guy to die even though he's really bad? And then you're like, oh yeah, he should die. But he has a little boy and there is that whole element to it. And
now if we reviewed the movie and said, and the main actress, she's just beautiful. She's gorgeous.
Oh, we'd
what's
be
wrong
hung
with
up.
saying someone
I'd be
is
hanging by
gorgeous?
my ankles.
What is wrong with saying someone is gorgeous?
We can't do that anymore.
Oh, for God's sake. Of course you can. But I can say it more.
Do you like action movies?
I love action movies.
Okay.
Like Die Hard is my top movie of all time. followed by Goodfellas. So I do like the murder. So I really enjoyed it. Less of Laura Dern and a bit shorter. I liked the Indian guys. I thought, Native Americans, Jesus.
Yeah.
And
feathers, not dots.
Feathers, not dots. And I don't think you can say that anymore either.
Yeah, I just did.
But
you opened the door with your
your
sexual rant.
My sexual reference to your fancy man. So there is the element with the son in it that he. The son is not a drug addict, even though the cops are saying, oh, he just died of a heroin overdose. But there's really a lot more to it than that. The fact that he worked at the airport and there was a drug shipment coming in, and the bad guys, it was not really a case of mistaken identity, but there was no need to kill him. Like, he picked up the wrong bag or something, so they killed him. So that's the story we're left believing anyway, because that's what Liam Neeson finds out. So he goes on a revenge mission against all of the bad guys, and it turns out that his brother is a former bad guy, and he knows the names of the guys that are actually in charge of, the head honchos to who actually ordered the kill or whatever. So he goes after everybody, and he gets everybody because he is Liam Neeson. And everything aside that went on before this movie came out or when this movie was coming out, Liam Neeson is one of the greatest actors this country has ever produced.
Okay, we'll get to this in a minute.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's all I'll say.
No, we need more, but we'll get to it in a second.
Well, I think,
Dave.
as Lisa alluded to there, it's not your typical revenge movie. There's elements in it that are quite surprising. Now, I mean, there's moments in it that are very cinematic when he's Niels Coxman is his name, played by Liam Neeson. He's throwing these bodies over a gorge up in the mountains, and he kind of does the first one and then he does the next one, and it's the same point where he's throwing them over this kind of freezing waterfall thing. This is where he disposes of the body. And it's very cinematic and atmospheric music, and kind of starts off very cinematic and kind of Scandinavian in its angles and weird camera shots and stuff. And it's not a typical revenge movie because he's not like a Lethal Weapon. He's more of a kind of a distraught man who just wants to know the truth. And he's going after the bad guys who killed his son, who's played by his actual son. Liam Neeson's actual son played his son in the movie.
Did not realise that, sorry.
And but he's only in it for 5 minutes and he gets killed off at the beginning, spoiler alert. And then the bad guy is this very handsome man that Lisa alluded to earlier, who is the bad guy. But it's kind of nonsensical movie because the bad guy didn't order the death of anybody. One of his minions was a bit overzealous and killed Niels Coxman's son. And they tried to cover it up by saying, oh, it was a heroin overdose. And then when Laura Dern, who Lisa loves, and Liam Neeson are identifying the body, she's distraught and the marriage is on the rocks and she fecks off pretty quick. But Liam Neeson is like, he wasn't a druggie. And she's just hitting him and, she's not happy. And he kind of goes, hold on, he wasn't a druggie. And then he's almost about to kill himself, just distraught. And one of the kids who was a druggie kind of somehow manages to be in his shed and spills the beans and tells him about, we didn't mean it. And Liam Neeson's like, hold on, what happened? And tell me who did it. And then he kind of literally goes, one guy meets, person A who actually killed his son. Who are you working for? Who told you to kill my son? And he just kills him. Then he goes to the next guy, person B, who are you working for? Kills him, person C, and it goes on and on and on. And then eventually he kills somebody.
It nearly is the alphabet because I think 24 or 25 people
it's ridiculous.
killed in this.
And then it continues on, and then somebody kills the wrong person, and then there's another turf war with a different drug gang who get involved, and it's all overcomplicated. Now, one of the problems I had with this movie is there's too many subplots. There's a subplot about the local cops and the female cop who is using her sexuality to get her FBI contact in the city to get intel on this guy and that guy. Then there's a subplot about the bad guy and his ex-wife and the son. Then there's a subplot about one of his henchmen who is gay with another henchman. Then there's another subplot because there's the African American Indian guys.
Native American.
Thank you. The Feather Indians are their gang. They have a huge subplot as well. And they have all the characters
Very big.
Every character has this huge backstory and subplot. And all I could think of was, this should be a 10-part TV series because it's so rich. In a movie, it's all, hold on, why have I got a few minutes of these guys? It doesn't make any sense. It's not going to have a payoff for me. So why do I need to know that these two henchmen are gay and they have a big snog in the car before anybody sees them? And it's like, are we going to come back to
David,
this?
I'll tell you why.
Yes, I know, but it comes back and then...
Yeah, it comes back.
But it comes back in a very, like, the guy who... There's two henchmen and they're gay and they have a little affair and they have a little snog in the car to set them up as who they are. And then later on, the maniacal bad guy who's their boss shoots the younger one in a tyrannical rage, as in, we're just going to blame him. We're going to send him his head. We'll send his head to the Indians and say, he did all this all by himself. We want peace and try and end the drug war. And he shoots him instantaneously in front of your man's lover, who nobody knows that they're lovers. And of course, your man then
stabs him
in the back, metaphorically speaking, later on in the movie. But it's not really stretched out and, it doesn't have any meat on the bone. So it's very loose. And that's
why I was saying it was a bit too long because there was too many side stories.
Too many side stories. And then the local cop and the amount of scenes we had with him and this very attractive young female cop who really wants to do the right thing and all this kind of stuff. Overdone. And then Liam Neeson kidnaps the bad guy's son, who's a little boy who's about 12. Unnecessarily. And befriends him. And is nice to him and reads him stories in the bed, and the kid falls asleep on his shoulder, and they go driving trucks and diggers together, and they're going to form a bond even though he's been kidnapped. And it's kind of nonsensical and all over the place. So I didn't enjoy it. It was all over the place.
Okay, because usually you do enjoy a movie.
Yeah.
All right, well, it has been kind of financially hit because of comments Liam Neeson made in an interview
about thoughts he had
40 years
ago. I mean,
and I think this puts it in perspective. It says there were social media movements to boycott the movie due to Liam Neeson's comments about what he did 40 years ago after his friend was raped. Two of my workmates, this person said on a review on IMDb, two of my workmates decided not to support his movies anymore. This doesn't make sense to me because Liam Neeson wasn't exposed. It wasn't dug up by someone else. He personally related the story in the context of saying why those thoughts are destructive and wrong. And I know we're Irish and we might be proud of it,
if you can be hung out to dry for having a thought, nobody's going to...
People are going to stop thinking. Having that thought.
He was expressing, I had a bad thought. This is the thought I had. It was a bad thought.
Well, he did walk up and down the street for a few nights. He said,
but he didn't do anything. I mean, have you ever thought, somebody cuts you up on the road and I'd love to drive into them and scratch their mirror and teach them a lesson, but you don't. You can't get arrested. You can't get hung out to dry for having a thought. And I mean, you don't get sent to prison for thinking about murdering somebody. It's either attempted murder or actual murder. Not, well, I thought about killing them, Your Honour. Well, that's not exactly a crime.
As I said before, this is not Minority Report. Thank God.
Exactly. And I mean, it's nonsense. He was having a conversation about revenge, about this movie. He was opening himself up. As you said, he volunteered the information. He said, this is a story about 40 years ago when the world was a completely different place. He had a huge emotional response to something bad, really bad that happened. God forbid, but if somebody I knew was raped, I'd be furious. And being furious is a human reaction. And I wouldn't, if I acted on my fury and then murdered or punched or stabbed somebody, then I go to prison. But if I'm feeling furious and I can overcome it and I can calm myself down, and then a few months later or 40 years later, I'm talking about a movie or a book and I say, well, once upon a time I was furious over something and I had silly thoughts. My God, the world has gone mad. It's crazy. It's gone mad.
It's nearly one of the themes every week on this podcast.
That the world has gone mad.
Yeah, we should rename it, just like in the movies, but the world has gone mad.
And in fairness, he did come out and do a full open interview on American television afterwards to clarify even further what he had said. And one point, and maybe they don't pick up on it as much in America, but he did grow up in the Troubles in Northern Ireland. And it was very much a tit-for-tat lifestyle. a Catholic got killed, then a loyalist or Protestant had to get killed, and vice versa.
Yeah.
You know, someone in such factory got killed, then the other factory,
Yeah, but I mean,
someone was going to be killed.
There was a guy indicted today, an Italian guy, who's going to prison for 3 years for punching a man at a football match 3 weeks ago. Just because he's not a famous movie star, but he's going to prison because he punched somebody who was standing there with their son going to a soccer match, a Liverpool match. Punched the guy. The guy is now, I don't know, he's in very bad way. He's got needs medical attention for the rest of his life, and this guy is going to prison for 3 years. And Liam Neeson had a thought 40 years ago, and he's telling a story about how a bad thought should not be acted upon. Look at this world has gone mad.
Okay, well, as a result...
We're becoming quite cranky.
As a result of...
I feel like giving it more stars now because of this. You've actually increased the amount of stars.
But the New York premiere was cancelled over the whole uproar over this.
New Yorkers.
Oh, man.
And Liam Neeson stated that this will be his final action movie role.
Grand, I don't mind.
Well, honestly...
For action movie
I
roles.
suppose he's probably have a good age now.
He's had like 15 years of
I know.
action movies.
And
really.
he needs
I
to
miss
move
old
on.
Liam Neeson.
He has
be
to move
honest.
on, and he has to get his career back into a bit of acting.
Like Love Actually 2 or something now.
Hey.
No, but like all this running around killing people, he's done it. Enough.
He's done it. He has.
I mean,
we've seen Taken 5.
Yeah, it's enough already with the Taken stuff.
Okay, out of 5, Lisa?
2.
Okay, Dave.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it 2.5 just because of Liam's oomph in all this media furore. And as I said, if this movie was kind of treated in the style of Tin Stars, kind of fleshed out, you could easily get a series out of this because it's so atmospheric, and the little quirkiness of the when people die and they have, you know,
the card
Dave Coyne and then the Viper nickname, and then, you know, a crucifix because of the religion, and then the next guy has a different religion and a different nickname. And it had a quirkiness.
Yeah, it was very quirky.
It was all over the place and not structured well. And even the very handsome bad guy didn't have a good death. And I always judge a bad guy. The action movie is the judge of an action movie is how does a bad guy die? And he died very badly. Poor bad guy death.
Was it not through the roof of the car?
Yeah, but he wasn't dead. And then he got shot. And then he had a chat. Look it. Give me a break.
They have to do a little comeback at the end. Even Mike Myers was doing that.
But it wasn't I was expecting this guy to be really properly, like the best death of a bad guy ever was in Sudden Death with Jean-Claude Van Damme, and nobody has touched it since. End of story.
I didn't watch it.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. On the basis of sex.
Women can't work overtime. We have to get credit cards in our husband's name. We're not allowed to work in mine.
This is a man's world. You think you can change the country? You should look to her generation. They're taking to the streets.
Protests are important, but changing the culture means nothing if the law doesn't change.
What did you say your name was?
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
That's a clip taken from the movie On the Basis of Sex. There's a documentary out at the moment as well about this topic, which was up for Oscar nominations, I believe, if my memory serves me right, at 3 o'clock in the morning a few days ago. It's the true story of Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Bader.
Okay. Well, another way of pronouncing that would be Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Yeah.
Her struggles for equal rights and the early cases of a historic career that led to her nomination and confirmation as US Supreme Court Associate Justice. You can understand why I have to read these things.
I know.
Who's going to remember all that?
It's a bit of a mouthful.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, I just know that she's on the Supreme Court and she's a little frail old lady, but back in the day, she wasn't a frail little old lady. She was a very powerful little lady. And very, very important story to tell, I think, this
definitely.
movie. I mean, about women's rights. And there's a really great line in the movie where some bigoted man says something like, nowhere does it say the word female in the Constitution, ma'am. And she says, well, nowhere in the Constitution does it say the word freedom either. And yet freedom is there in the world and we have to believe in it. So very, very important story to tell. I would probably have preferred to watch the documentary about the real Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I mean, I've seen her on TV and I've seen her being interviewed before she got this level of recognition. And I mean, the movie is very straightforward. It's very bland. Good performances by the lead actors.
Felicity Jones.
Coming from Star Wars to this is a leap. She's a good actress. Armie Hammer is impossibly handsome, another handsome man on this show. And he's actually a very good actor too. And the chemistry between them is good, but it's bland. It's got a kind of a TV movie vibe. The camera is, at 0 degrees. It doesn't move. There's no cinematography. There's no cinematic moments in it. It's like a TV movie. It's very talky, cerebral. There's no oomph. I mean, if we look at Vice, which we reviewed a few weeks back, there was moments of cinema. There was moments of fun. There was moments where they broke into Shakespeare. There was moments of craziness. But
there was great acting through the whole thing.
Exactly. Whereas this is great acting, good solid acting, but very straightforward. Point the camera at them and let them do the talking.
And say these lines.
Yeah, there was no cinema magic or oomph about it, and I thought it was a bit bland.
If this movie was a colour, it would be beige.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Lisa, any further thoughts on it?
No, I agree with everything Dave just said. I was expecting a lot more from it. I thought it would have like more of a punch at the end. I thought like the trial that was kind of a small trial really, because it's in front of judges, and you're used to juries, and with juries you can get a lot of reactions, and you can get a lot of drama.
Yeah, and a build-up.
There's
no build-up.
There's no build-up at all. It kind of feels like, you're just going in with your little trial thing, and you're saying, oh well, this is such and such, blah blah blah, and you think it's just more of a formality than an actual trial.
And the crescendo is like it's just 2 minutes. It's like boom, 2 minutes of she's nervous, and then it all just happens. The movie, there's nothing, then something happens in the movie. There's no arc. It's like flat ground, hit a brick wall, up, down, gone, done.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. I mean, classic courtroom drama, picture this girl and picture that girl, now picture she's white.
Yeah.
I mean, there's that hours, it feels like a week long, that movie, the build up and the tension in Time to Kill, and then To Kill a Mockingbird and other classic,
but even movies about like briefs themselves, like the Pelican Brief.
Yeah.
I know we're like quoting John
There's
Grisham
tension,
with a lot
but
of
there's
this,
tension
but he's a
and-
genius when it comes to law and when it comes to lawyer movies.
Yeah.
And that's just what it was missing. It was missing the drama, the tension, the element
Urgency.
of fun. Even
So
there was no kind of comic relief in it either.
It was very. There was no urgency. There was no drama. There was no threat. There was no kind of this person's going to die or that person's going to get away with it. It was more kind of an idea against the system. And of course, in this day and age, we think of women's rights. I personally don't even like talking about it because I think it shouldn't even be talked about. I think feminism shouldn't even exist because I think the whole thing is so archaic, and men and women are exactly equal across the board.
In our country.
Well, yeah, that's true. Fair play. But that's my upbringing. That's how I feel. So I don't feel the drama of this.
Yeah.
I'm sure if I lived in a country where women were still suppressed and I was a woman, I'd probably think, yes, I really want to see this movie. But
maybe if they'd shown a little bit more of the oppression that women felt back then, there was kind of like things alluded to, saying, oh, you can't get a credit card and blah, blah, blah. But if you'd seen somebody go into the bank and say, I'm trying to get a credit card, and would say, well, you have to have your husband's name. And you're like, well, I don't have a husband.
If she had a big emotional scene in a bank to bring it to life, to bring the issue to life. There was one scene where she's walking down the street with her daughter, and her daughter's a real feminist, real go-getter. And
to be honest, she's the most interesting character in the show.
Yeah, and she kind of clashes heads with her mother, and she subsequently grew up to be a lawyer herself. But she, there's a scene in the 60s where they're walking on the street, and Ruth Bader Ginsburg is there, and her daughter, and it starts to rain, and the next thing they're like calling a taxi, and they're standing in front of a building site, and the builder's like, "Way, baby," and they're whistling and stuff, and her, Ruth Bader Ginsburg is like, ignoring them, and her young daughter, who's in the 60s, who's hip and has the mini skirt and the hair, and she's a beautiful lady, she turns around and goes, "Hey, buddy, you can't speak to me like that," and she gives it back to them. She gives him a bit of stick, and I'm sure in the 60s women would have been, steamrolled over there, whereas now, if they did that, everybody would be applauding them and going, "Yeah, good girl, get on it, don't let people talk to you like that," and that was a little bit of interest, but it's very damp squib, this movie.
Yeah, you see, the movie was written by her nephew, Ruth's nephew.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have a huge amount of experience in writing from the credentials I came across.
It's kind of like writing a diary, like it's a visual diary.
And I think this is probably the problem with it. He had great insight into the lady herself, but in terms of actually putting together a strong screenplay.
There was no.
They should have just called John Grisham.
There was no cinema, but there wasn't even any camera movements or any bit of cinema.
There was a little bit maybe with her outfits, through the crowd of men, and there was this blue coming through.
Yeah, but that was kind of a little bit maybe. TV movie. Like there was no even like a close up of a cigarette burning. No bit of art thrown in there for the sake of the scene. Nothing. Very stagnant. cinematography, acting, pacing, editing. It was
I
all
thought the
by the book. It was by the book, coloured by numbers kind of stuff.
The bad guys, shall we call them bad guys, the lead main protagonists in this movie.
With our very
or
own Jack Rayner
antagonists.
with a terrible accent.
Jack Rayner.
Jack Rayner.
He's
who's
back.
He's like
the lawyer that for the prosecution.
and he's
shall we
like,
say.
well, I'm an Irish guy and I got to pretend to have an accent, and I'm
it's real
really
good.
trying my accent here, and it's really on the edge of accent stuff, and I'm going to really show these people what I got to do with the system, and it's like, oh, good God. You know,
I hate accents in movies.
but like, why couldn't they just cast a guy with an American accent?
But then again, why couldn't they just cast a lead female from America, given that Felicity Jones is English?
Well, yes, but she
Natalie
can,
Portman was to play.
Was she?
Yeah,
a
apparently,
few years ago, 4 years previous.
That would have been much
But it was
better.
gone on and on and on
Yeah.
for ages in development.
But I mean,
well.
you know, the performances are all very solid. It's a good, like, it's, you know, it's the kind of movie that, you know, your granny would sit down and enjoy and go, hey,
Yeah.
it was good. It's good.
It's a safe movie.
It's a safe movie. As Lisa said, it's beige.
Lisa, out of 5?
2.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, 2 for me as well.
Oh, wow. Disappointing week.
Yeah.
No.
Go on.
I got it officially from across the floor.
Okay. Hot off the presses.
Hot off the press, because there's Mr. Tommy Tiernan who works in the same office as us.
Yes.
Derry Girls is hitting TV screens March 5th.
That's just
Which
made my day.
TV screens though?
Well, it depends which
Good
ones
question.
you're watching. Because it is a
BBC, RT.
BBC production.
It's a BBC production, but RT have it too. No, TV.
Oh, I thought it was Channel 4.
No.
What?
It's BBC.
It's Channel 4.
Is it?
50 quid.
He has it written down there.
No,
for
what
me.
I have, because I couldn't remember, is it's TV screens. So it's either RTE, Virgin Media, BBC, or Channel 4.
Once again, we've unearthed the fact that he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Sorry.
And this is why we're here.
So it hits TV screens from March
TV screens
5th.
in general,
Is
but
it
it's Channel 4.
I think you might be right.
It is.
But what's the Irish connection? Is it TV3 or is it
I think it's RT.
Or
RT?
no,
It's
it's
a strange
RT,
one,
yeah.
yeah.
But I don't think there isn't.
But there's about a 2 week
It's not been
gap.
on RT.
But when the first series was on, there was about a 2 week gap between the two in terms of.
I don't think it was ever on RT at all.
It was on Irish TV. It was on Irish, whether it was TV3 or Virgin Media.
Because remember,
whatever
Young
it's called.
Offenders then had that big gap as well for their
yeah.
Christmas special.
Yeah.
That was a BBC production.
Anyway,
And,
you'll find it.
Yeah,
Go
and-
look it up.
I'm delighted with that because
and maybe you'll see it on Pakistani TV
TV.
from March 5th, but it'll hit a TV screen on March 5th.
Wow.
I think
So
that is
somewhere
great.
in the
I'm
world.
excited. I'm
somewhere in the
excited.
world on a TV.
I'm very
you'll be
happy
able to
about
watch
that
it.
because
Yeah.
it's a really meaty, funny, rich,
brilliant, yeah.
great characters. I mean, it's
what the world needs right now.
it is, and
Yeah.
it's really good. And yeah, I'm very happy about that.
Dave, you will be interested in this actually.
I'll put on my interested
Feeling
face.
left out. Go on.
In other entertainment news, it's
Yeah.
reported the Oscar-winning star of Bohemian Rhapsody
Yes,
will be. You probably know this.
I
already.
know this already.
Pretend you don't. Will be taking on the role of villain in the next James Bond movie.
Yes,
According to Variety, go on. You know.
he will probably be Shatterhand.
Ooh.
That's the name of that's the name.
That's a great name.
That's well, I mean, obviously the memes are already on Facebook, but they're kind of putting a play on Dr. No, who had metal hands, and this guy apparently has glass hands, and that's the premise. But it comes back to it was a
Glass finger.
there you go. After in the books, Ernst Stavro Blofeld uses this as an alias, Shatterhand. So that leads us to believe that I think this could be a ruse, because I think that Ernst Stavro Blofeld is going to come back, and
Yes.
therefore,
Yes.
you know,
What? I'm lost.
I love Ernst Stavro Blofeld. He is the greatest villain of all time.
Blofeld.
Blofeld,
In
the bad
Spectre.
guy with the suit.
Spectre.
With the way,
You know
beige-
Spectre, yes.
In Spectre,
Yes.
Christoph Waltz played.
Yes.
Blofeld.
yes.
More Important Diamonds Are Forever, and every
Yeah,
other movie, it
but-
was your man.
But in the modern Bond, the first time we saw Blofeld was in Spectre because they got the legal stuff sorted out.
Oh.
And basically in the books, Shatterhand was an alias used by Blofeld. So if they're going to call the movie Shatterhand, the rumours are that's what it's going to be called, then that leads us to believe that Ernst Stavro Blofeld will be back. So Rami Malek being the villain could be a ruse to kind of throw us off the scent.
Maybe.
Okay.
But
It was also in
remember
it.
where you heard it first. If it's right, if it's wrong, you never heard it from me.
Not true.
Daniel Craig.
Daniel Craig.
Daniel Craig,
Daniel Craig.
known to the public as Daniel Craig,
Yes.
will be reprising his role.
Yes.
Apparently, alongside Léa Seydoux.
Oh yeah, she'll be
she's
back.
fab.
She's going to
She is
last
brilliant.
about
Yeah.
I'm going to say 6-7 minutes she'll be dead.
Oh, no.
That's what's going to set the movie off.
Ray Fiennes
What
is in
character
it?
does she play?
She's Madeline Swan, who James Bond drove off into the sunset with at the end of Spectre, and she's going to come back for this one. She's going to get popped in the head, and then James Bond is going to go rah and go and taken everybody. I have a special set of skills and on Her Majesty's Secret Service all over again.
Okay, well, there you go.
That's what
I was saying Ray Fiennes in it, but he was in the last ones as well.
Well, he plays.
He's the Prime
M.
Minister.
Yeah.
He's not the Prime Minister. He's M.
What is he?
He's the Minister for
M.
Den.
I thought he was the Prime Minister.
No, he was not the Prime Minister.
Who was playing the Prime Minister then?
I don't know who was playing.
M was Judi Dench, and he
and
was the Prime Minister.
Yeah, no,
replaced her.
he replaced her. He was a.
He went from Prime Minister to M.
No. He was. He wasn't.
Seems like a.
He wasn't Prime Minister in Skyfall. He was just one of the guys in the ministry, and then he took over from M. And so at the end, he's like,
Fine, I'll bow to your prowess.
Trust me, I can quote the movie. I had nauseum here. Trust me.
Are you glad Daniel's back reprising his role?
I am, because I think it's going to be a wrap up of the storyline, because they kind of built the storyline, I think, retroactively to make them all into one big storyline from Casino Royale, and all the bad guys were being manipulated by Blofeld, and they kind of loosely tied it up there at the end of Spectre, which was a bit tacked on, I thought. But if they, the fact that he's coming back for another one, and if they call Shatterhand and Blofeld comes back and Léa Seydoux is back and she's inevitably going to get murdered. Sorry, that's just the way the plot is going to be. He's not going to have babies and, right off in sunset with his wife. Blofeld or Remy Malek or whoever it is going to kill Bond's lady friend at the beginning of the movie and set up the movie and the rage. And then that will be the end of Daniel Craig's Bond. There'll probably be a feckin' huge hiatus, and then somebody new will come along and revamp it, and they'll probably go back to the comedy stuff, I think. They'll go back to the Roger Moore stuff in the future.
Last week we reviewed, or Dave and Lisa, and I listened, reviewed Green Book.
Yes.
And we kind of made our predictions as to what we think would be taking Oscar home.
Yeah.
Actor in a supporting role, Mahershala Ali.
Excellent.
Won.
Yeah, for
And
the second time in a row.
Very good. Your
Accepting
pronunciation was
his-
excellent. That's what I'm saying.
Thank you. Okay, so we all agreed that himself and Viggo were both very powerful in the movie Green Book. I don't know, was it expected for him to win? Great that he did.
I can't remember. Did I put that in my prediction? I don't remember my predictions.
I don't think we did.
But
we didn't do best supporting.
I think he thoroughly deserved it. Kind of strange that Viggo wasn't even nominated.
Yeah,
because he was brilliant as well. But obviously, I think I agree with the controversy over Green Book winning Best Picture.
Yeah,
I don't think it was the Best Picture. I think it was a really good film, and I think I gave it 4.5 stars. And Mahershala Ali was brilliant. He deserved the Oscar, no question. But I think the preferential voting got Green Book its place.
Yeah.
Like, loads of people put it down as number 2, and they got that, put it over the line, I think.
Proportional representation.
It's strange how it got Best Picture, because although, as you say, it's a great movie, the thing about a Best Picture is ultimately it's an award for the producer.
Yeah.
And the producer's role is to get the money in and get everything in place. Get the right director, help the director get the right cast, get
and make
the right
the magic happen.
Back end staff. Just make the whole thing work, and to pull off that, it's like, wow, fantastic. Everything, every element of this is amazing, which is like your costumes, your editing, your cinematography, your acting, blah, 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 blah. And it didn't pick up many other awards from what I can recall.
No.
But it still got Best Picture.
I think the system is broken, honestly. I mean, I haven't actually seen, much to my chagrin, I haven't seen Black Klansman, but I'm really down to see it. And from
Really
what I've heard, Black Klansman is a better film than Green Book.
Well, Spike Lee was being interviewed on the red carpet, and they were saying, what's it like to get your first Oscar nomination? And he said,
this is not his first Oscar
His first
nomination.
win. His first Oscar.
He was pipped to the post by Driving Miss Daisy back in 1991 or 92.
Yeah, that's why he's annoyed.
As a director?
As Best Picture, yeah.
No, as director, though. I think it was his first nomination as director, because he actually said...
But he won for writing.
He should have been nominated. He did win for writing
Yeah.
on the night. But I think this question was aimed towards directing. He was saying he should have been nominated a long, long time ago.
Yeah,
and this shouldn't have been the first
and he
time.
should have been,
and then he still didn't get the director or the Best Picture.
He's just annoyed that both times he got pipped by
somebody driving a car.
By first time it was a black person driving a white person, and this time it was a white person driving a black person around in an old car in the 60s. So he kind of has a point.
And even Trump had to go with him.
Yeah. But
Did you see that?
Well, he had to go to Trump first.
I mean, I think Spike Lee has a point. I think his frustrations are, after many years of this, his frustrations are starting to overshadow his point. We're kind of going, oh, Spike, will you cool it? But he has a point. And his work and the work of the black community has been overlooked a lot. And it's still kind of a white boys club, I think, in the Oscars, unfortunately.
Okay, well, it was supposed to be an African-American host in it, Kevin Hart. Didn't happen. So they had no host.
Yeah.
It was a terrible show.
Kevin Hart and Liam Neeson were having a pint somewhere.
Yeah.
With their mouths sewn closed and a little straw going...
Well, you watched it live, Dave. Was it a good decision not to have a host?
No. It was lackluster. It was... The host... They need... Oscar ceremonies are boring. They need comedy. You need a comedy relief to relieve you.
Exactly.
And you need a few jokes and you need a bit of pizzazz and you need a bit of oomph. And they hadn't any of that. And the one, when it was really hit home for me was Julie Roberts at the end kind of instantly kind of went, and that's the end of the Oscars, guys. And even she was a bit...
people getting up from the chairs and just grabbing their coats and walking.
Do you know what I mean? It'd be like watching a movie and it just cuts to black.
Yeah.
There's no credits, there's no music, there's no kind of...
That's all, folks.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah,
and
very awkward ending.
And
awkward start as well.
Yeah.
But it was awkward because...
Because the camera was all over the place outside.
It was a short set for Queen as well. It wasn't like the full song either. Yeah. So you were just like, you were just getting into it and then you were like, boom, it's gone. Oh, sad.
And having Adam Lambert or Levine or
Lambert.
Adam in the Ants, whatever the hell his name is, going, welcome to the Oscars. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? He's not an actor. He's not a director. He's not a comedian.
He's not Billy Crystal.
He's an American Idol.
But he's not, Don't even get me started. He's a TV contestant who happens to be able to sing reasonably well. And, spends more time on the engineering of his beard than he does on his singing. Or
he tours with Queen, though.
Yeah, he does.
So what? It's the Oscars. It's not about Queen. Queen was one movie biopic in a huge sea of filmmakers.
And by the way, you had Lady Gaga there.
And Lady Gaga.
That was
is
what stole the show.
Absolutely, I agree 100%.
I mean, the moment of the Oscars
I got
was,
the hairs the back of my neck.
And I mean, I don't want to lower the tone of this podcast, but
throw away.
I guarantee you they
David.
I guarantee you
Oh my God, will you stop? You can't say that.
You totally are.
No, they're not.
No, they're not. Were you not watching Jimmy Kimmel last night?
No, I don't watch Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah, well, she was on the show last night and she was basically saying, well, we're actors. Fooled you. There you go.
No.
Oh,
She's
God
not that good. She didn't get an Oscar on the night for her acting. She got her Oscar for
a song.
Yeah, but
singing.
when you sing, you emote the song.
No, I thought they just hit on it perfectly.
I thought they were perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
You, David.
Believe me, they hit on it. Believe me.
David, stop it.
Now, if I had to place a bet, I don't think...
No, they're not.
And if they are, there's nothing wrong with it.
Because Bradley Cooper is an excellent actor.
But would you even do a look like that in front of your beautiful Russian mother of your child?
No. They weren't. This is the thing. They weren't making a movie. They were performing a song from a movie, and she looked at him in the most mixture of lust and love. It was ridiculous, and it wasn't performed. There was no director. There was nobody there.
He directed that whole thing for a week.
Whole thing.
Yeah, but the look that she gave him,
a week rehearsing it.
No.
You were mistaken.
He would not direct his co-star to put a face
in Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga.
Lady Gaga would not be directed to do that with your man's girlfriend 10 feet away.
Stop.
No.
Just because herself and her fiance split a couple of weeks ago. That's
it's no big deal.
I'll expect when this all comes out in the wash,
when this all comes out in the wash, I would like 50
But I have to say, it was the moment of the Oscars. It was really a magical moment, and it was very real. That's why everybody is having this conversation, because it was very real and it was very emotional, and great song, really well directed and performed tonight, but the rest of the Oscars was so...
But do you know what the TV broadcast of it left out? They left out Barbra Streisand. And
Richard E. Grant going mental when she came on stage.
Richard E. Grant going mental, Barbra Streisand, the whole thing, and also Star Is Born. They left out the Shallow song. They left that out of the TV broadcast as well.
On the highlights, like
on the highlights, yeah.
Well, that was the best bit.
This is the highlights on RTE.
Did you see the live one as well?
No, I watched the highlights all through the day leading up to RTE's version.
I mean, I watched it live, and I don't remember seeing Richard E. Grant doing anything crazy when herself came out.
Well, when Barbara came out, he was going mad. He was like a little schoolboy.
Yeah, but I don't remember it.
Maybe he was very sleepy
because
in the morning.
The red carpet he was saying all he wanted tonight was to see Barbara or meet Barbra Streisand. I think we covered a lot.
I feel like we're forgetting something.
Yeah.
Out of 5 Oscars?
0.
I'm going to say
No, 1 for Stars Born and
one and a
that's
half.
it.
And I mean, it's the last time I'm going to stay up to watch the Oscars. Really, I said it a
Yeah.
few years ago, and I kind of haven't stayed up to watch the Oscars for about 2 years. Prior to that, for 20 years, I stay up. I watch the Oscars live since I was a kid, and last couple of years, I was like, no. And then this year, I decided, I'll stay up and watch it live, and never again. It's a waste of time. It's a boring ceremony. I know the viewing figures were slightly up, but overall, in the grand scheme of things, they're down and they're boring, and they don't even have a host anymore.
No.
I mean, what are they going to do? Bring Billy Crystal's head out in a jar in the future to bring it back to life? I mean, it's nonsense.
He's still alive.
Yeah, but you know what I mean?
In the
But you know
future.
but my point is,
Future.
in 40 years'
Far
time,
away.
they're going to Futurama him out, and he goes, "Hey guys, I'm Billy." You know,
Yeah, they could have Hugh Jackman doing The Greatest Showman again all over.
Oh, they could have. That would
He-
be
he
great.
He did the Brits.
But when he did
Yeah.
it, it was good. But the thing, I'm going to be controversial now. There's a lot less talented people in show business nowadays. They're just Twitter people, and James Corden, and whatever. There's no real
James Corden, the human personality vacuum. I stole that from someone else. But
yeah, but
I don't mean it.
but the likes of Billy Crystal.
I know.
I mean, they don't
And
make
Steve
him like
Martin.
That's
and Steve
showbiz,
Martin,
the old-
but
Yeah,
they don't
and
make
Whoopi
him like
Goldberg,
that.
for
Whoopi
God's sake. She
Goldberg.
was my first Oscars. Was Whoopi
Yeah.
Goldberg's Oscars.
And people with
Not that I was there or
talent,
anything, but you know what I mean.
just oozing talent, effortless control over a big organization, and they don't have it anymore. They don't have anybody anymore to do these things. They all have to have 40,000 followers on Twitter this morning. Otherwise, they're not going to get the job.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we will get 40,000 followers on Twitter, because we are now finally on Twitter. And our Twitter handle is JLIT Movies. And
Just
don't
like in
Or
ask
just
me-
type in just like in the movies and
or
you'll
just
find
type
us.
it in, but don't ask me why it is JLIT Movies. Well, you
long
can, but
story.
the answer is we couldn't get.
Couldn't get it.
Just like in the movie.
Just like in the movies, as a handle is too long.
Yeah.
And there was other ones that was coming up with, but they were weird.
But it's okay.
We don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Just remember that
Just find us.
JLIT Movies
Yeah.
is the
Like
handle.
us. Follow us.
We'll tweet. I think I'll tweet
Yeah.
at the beginning when I'm about to
Dave
go and
doesn't
see
do
something.
Twitter, but
I
we're
just took a
convincing
picture,
or
so I
trying
might
to
tweet the
tweet.
picture.
I'll tweet. Don't worry.
Excellent.
I'll tweet. Tweet.
All right. Thank you very much for listening and possibly watching Just Like in the Movies, brought to you by gkmedia.ie. If you'd like to get in touch with us, you can email movies@gkmedia.ie, or you can also tweet us.
Ooh, tweet.
And you can find our podcast on Spotify, SoundCloud, Stitcher. And
Anywhere
another one
good
there.
podcasts are found.
Thank you. Yeah. Until we talk to you next week, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Slán.